This is challenge assessment 1, retake number 2, done by Leo Edwards. So some of the goals of this challenge assessment are to teach you how to measure current. So you should know how to measure current. You should know how to measure voltage, and you should know what Ohm's law is and how it works. As you can see, we're going to measure current and voltage with the multimeter shown in the photo above V equals IR. And V equals IR is Ohm's law, which I will teach you about at the end of the presentation.
To start, we will go over current, which can be known as the node law or Kirchhoff's current law. It's important to note right off the bat, my current reading on the bottom right does not match my current at the top right. This is because two different measurements were made and one photo was forgotten to be taken. Moving on, circuit must be broken to measure current. In this circuit, it is a simple circuit with everything in series and parallel. It's also important to note that current is the same in series and not in parallel, but in this case, it is in series. Since the circuit is broken, as you can see in the bottom left photo, we will have to complete the circuit with a multimeter. You need to make sure the multimeter is changed to amps because this is what current is measured in, because the multimeter is going to complete the circuit. Make sure to start big and work your way down. Moving on. The next step is voltage. This can be known as the loop law or Kirchhoff's voltage law. Voltage is the difference between 2 points. As you can see, I am measuring the difference between 2 points on the bottom right photo. It can be measured across the resistor, as seen in the bottom right photo, by placing the leads on either side of the resistor and or any other element. So you can measure the charge in a battery by doing this exact same thing. It is also important to note, unlike current, you do not have to break the circuit to measure voltage. Voltage is the same in parallel and not in series. It is also important to note that the dial on the multimeter must be turned to volts. Start big and work your way down. And you can see that we got a 7.90 volts for a reading across the resistor. We will now go over Ohm's law. Ohm's law states that the current is proportional to the voltage and the inverse to the resistance. Ohm's law is represented as V equals IR. It's important to state that Ohm's law only applies to resistors and no other element in the circuit. The circuit, as seen in the bottom right-hand corner, we are going to see that at resistor 1 is where Ohm's law is going to be applied, because that is the only place it can be applied. If there were multiple resistors in the circuit, then we would have to use Ohm's law multiple times. When you have 2 of the 3 things that you need, you are able to solve for the other. As seen on the bottom left-hand side, I did V equals IR, I divided by R divided by R equals V divided by I, and then I solved for each, proving that the measurements that were made equal each other, which is super cool to see. In conclusion, you should have learned by watching this video how to measure current in a circuit. You also need to know that it is important to break the circuit when measuring current. You should know that the multimeter completes the circuit. You should have learned how to measure voltage, and you are measuring across elements, and you do not need to break the circuit. You should know what Ohm's law is and how to apply it. You know that it is related through V equals IR, and it can only be applied at resistors. As you can see on the photo to the right of this is George Ohm.